So you want to make the upcoming year the absolute best year for you in the self-storage business? So let's talk about 5 steps that you can do right now that will create the most powerful year ever for you in the self-storage business. Hello, my name's Mark Helm, and I'm the author of Creating Wealth Through Self-Storage. And what I do is I support the small investor who wants to get in the self-storage business or who wants to grow their self-storage business, strategically do so in a way that creates true wealth and a fulfilling career. And I have a lot of training like this free at creatingwealththroughselfstorage.com and a lot of courses free and paid for at thequickstartacademy.com. So here we are at the end of 2018. I'm not sure when you're seeing this, but when I'm recording this is at the end of 2018. And it was quite a year in the self-storage business. A lot of product hit the market. There was probably more product hitting the market in 2018 than any other year, at least in the markets that we're in. And it was a challenging year if you were trying to buy, and it was a great year if you were a seller. 2018 was a challenging year for many of us. But the real question right now for you is, how are you going to create 2019 as the year your self-storage business goes to the next level? Now, I'm a firm believer in what most people call goal setting goals. Now, I don't quite relate to it like I'm setting goals, but if you were looking in from the outside, that's what it would look like, that I'm a goal setter. It's like if you're creating a budget. Most people who create budgets for their businesses or personal or a church or a nonprofit, most people, when they create a budget, they look at the past year, which is valid. They look at the past year and then try to predict what the income and expenses are going to be in the upcoming year. So they use a budget, or they'll create goals, having goals or budget creation be a predictive tool. Do you know that you can also have it be a creative tool? Do you know that you can create using what most people call setting goals or setting budgets? You literally can create something out of nothing. Let me share with you the steps we go through to powerfully create what the next year is going to be for us in the self-storage business. So a little context first. There's a lot of ways to relate to goals. I invite you to begin to relate this way. You don't want to create objectives or goals for yourself and your company that are beyond the scope of believability. For example, if you've earned $50,000 and that's all you've ever earned, and you create that you're going to make $1 million in the next 12 months, and you've never earned over $50,000, for most people, that would be beyond the realm of believability. Now, let's say that you created a goal for yourself called $250,000. Now, you would really have to transform yourself. You would have to be a totally different person in the upcoming year to earn $250,000. Someone who earns $250,000 is a very different type person than someone who earns $50,000. So it could be within your realm of believability that you could transform yourself into someone earning $150,000 or $250,000, but you don't know quite how yet. But in your world, you believe that it's possible because you've seen people do it. That's what I'm talking about in terms of creating goals. Something that is within the realm of believability, but really requires something beyond what you know yourself as. It's going to require a lot of work, what some might call luck, and perhaps a transformation of who you are in the upcoming year. So let me walk through the 5 steps that I suggest you do to have the next year be the most powerful year yet for you in the self-storage business. So step number 1 is complete the previous year. Now, what do I mean by complete the previous year? Well, in my opinion, this is perhaps the most important step in the whole process. And most people never do this step. And that's why for most people, no matter what goals they create, their future looks pretty much like their past. Why? Because their past is still with them, and the past, for most of us, dictates what's possible in our future. When you get complete with something, I mean really complete with it, it's no longer there to inform you what's possible in the future. So let's go through the steps that I suggest and that I take to complete something in my life. The first thing I suggest is you look at last year's goals if you have them. Or if you don't have them, look at last year's numbers or quarterly numbers or whatever you use to measure how well you're doing in your business. Now, at this stage of the game, it's important not to get too emotionally attached to whatever the outcome was. You look at what your goals were, what your benchmarks were, and then you just state what's so. For example, I was going to put 5 facilities into service last year, and I put 2 in. I was going to grow the income of our company by $100,000. We grew at $62,532. Just the what so. It's important that you be truthful, rigorously truthful, and state the what so about last year. What worked and what didn't work about last year. Now, determine what was the source of the outcome. What caused the outcomes? What caused the wins or the losses that you encountered? Now, here's a hint. If at all possible, you are the source of the wins and the losses. Now, I know that a lot of product hit the market and we weren't able to have price increases like we had been having or whatever. But if you can put yourself at the source of the outcome, then you can have power over transforming that outcome. If it's always somebody else, or always the market, or always this, then the source of your changing or transforming that outcome is dependent on things outside of yourself. So as much as possible, if you can authentically, make yourself the source of the outcome, such as, I was not up to the task of doing the marketing for this project in an overbuilt market. Or I did not allow myself to create enough resources to market this property in an overbuilt market, or whatever. If you can put yourself at the source, then you have power over changing it. What I've discovered is, if I'm not at the source of something, then I'm a victim. And victims never have power. So part of being complete with the last year is to transform whatever you need to transform inside yourself to be able not to be a victim of whatever the outcome was. The next step is, how do you feel? Now is where you begin to really get present to what it feels like to win or what it feels like to lose, and really get present to it. Many of us skip this type of step because we don't want to, quote, experience negative feelings. Experience them, because if you don't experience them and they're there, then that limits what's possible for you in 2019. This first step often takes me, I'll usually block a day or so out to do this work, and literally this first step might take half the day. This is very critical. Most people never do it, but do this work so you can be complete with whatever the outcome was, and you're not creating something on top of it. So how does it make you feel? And then the next step in that process would be, what do I need to do or say to be complete with this year? Very often it's something you can say with the partners or the people you're doing the work with, or you can say it to yourself if you're doing this work by yourself. You may have to do something, or you may have to say something to someone else to be complete. Now, what I would do is put in my calendar by when that will happen, but you can actually declare something complete and there's still work to do in the future on it, but it can be complete for you. And then the final step is to, after you've done all that work authentically, declare the previous year, this is complete. This is what happened. This was the source of what happened. Here's how I feel about it, and I now declare it complete. That's step number one. Now, step number two is to brainstorm what would a phenomenally successful next year for me or next year for us look like. I mean, really brainstorm. If you knew you couldn't fail in the next 12 months, what goal would you create for yourself or your company? What would an outlandishly successful 2019 look like for you? Brainstorm, write it all down. Don't stop. Don't limit now what's possible. Don't squash anyone else if they come up with something that you think is beyond the realm of believability. At this point, just brainstorm, write them all down. The third step now, before you actually begin to create your outcomes or goals for the next year, is to list what are the non-negotiables for me in this upcoming year. So what I mean by that is, what is something I did or something that happened for me in the previous year or previous years that I no longer will accept for myself and my life, or myself and my company? You know, for example, when we first got going, I would literally take investment dollars from almost anyone who was an investor. And in this upcoming year, we will no longer take investment income from someone I know is going to be a high maintenance investor and cause a lot of issues for ourselves and our company and our other investors. We're just not going to do it. Or it might be, I am no longer putting out my personal income into a facility to prop it up, or whatever the non-negotiables are for you. What's non-negotiable for you in this upcoming year? List those out and keep those alive and ever present for you, and really declare that this is a non-negotiable for me in the upcoming year. It may be something as simple as, I will take a vacation by the end of the second quarter. Whatever it is, write it down. Now, the next step, the fourth step, is to, now that you've done all this work, what are 3, no more than 5 powerful outcomes that would literally transform your self-storage business in the next upcoming year? What would they be? Right, you know, an example might be, we will put 6 facilities into service by December 31st, 2019. Or we will raise a $20 million self-storage fund. Whatever it is. Now, these outcomes should not be beyond the realm of believability again, but they should be something that you're not really exactly clear how you're going to do it right now. That's a powerful outcome or powerful goal for your company. And the final step is, who do I need to be in the upcoming year to achieve those outcomes? How do I need to show up in this upcoming year to make those outcomes be a reality? Look, you show up in the world a particular way right now. How you show up, who you are, who you're being, is what has allowed you to get to where you are so far, to get the outcomes and the results you're currently having. Look at those goals or outcomes you've written down, and who would you have to be in this upcoming year? Who would you have to transform into to have those outcomes be a reality? You know, it might be something like, I am the leader of a multi-million-dollar corporation. Or I am a leader who inspires people to go beyond even their own expectations of what they can do. Or it could be, I'm a leader who will no longer be passive and not take risk. Whoever you need to be to make those outcomes happen, create that person now. And then the art is to keep that alive, present for you every single day in the upcoming year. My belief is you are that person, or you would not even be able to create it. All we need to do is remove the parts from you that are there now that are not that person that you've created. If you keep that alive this next year, what will happen is you'll be listening for it. You will be looking for it. You will see people, opportunities, and resources that will allow you and support you in transforming it yourself into who you create yourself to be. Who you're being and how you show up will determine whether those outcomes are successful. Not the markets, not your investors, not your partners, not sellers. Who you show up as will determine if those are the outcomes that you achieve. So those are the 5 steps I recommend you doing to have a powerful outcome in 2019. Again, get complete with the previous year. Brainstorm what a successful year would look like. What are your non-negotiables? What are your 3 to 5 outcomes that would make the next upcoming year be the most successful year ever? And who do you have to be? How do you have to show up in the world to have those outcomes be a reality? Look, I promise you, you do that work, you will have a very powerful upcoming year. I promise, I guarantee you will. Look, I would rather fail and fall flat on my face going for a 10x goal, a transformative year, than I would achieving and winning at some mediocre goal that doesn't mean much in the long run to what I'm up to in life. You've got to give yourself to the next year. December 31st, 2019 is going to happen. Why don't you do the work to make this next 12 months worth giving your life to? 12 months that will make a huge difference for yourself, your company, your family, and all of the people that your self-storage business will impact. Make this next year the most powerful year ever. I invite you to play along with us. My name is Mark Helm. I'm the author of Creating Wealth Through Self-Storage, and I'm the creator of the Storage World Analyzer. That's the financial analysis tool we use to analyze self-storage. If you're not using it, maybe 2019 is the year you do to help you achieve whatever outcomes you've laid out. Go to storageworldanalyzer.com or creatingwealththroughselfstorage.com. I look forward to learning and sharing with you in the upcoming year. And thank you very much for watching these episodes. I love learning out loud and sharing what we're doing and what we're up to. So thank you very much. I look forward to being with you in the upcoming year, and I'll see you then.